Should we go ahead and get started? I'm going to call this work meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Members present, I guess it's girls on one side, boys on the other this evening, is Mayor Marl, Council Members Dillon, Gearbaugh, McClellan, Rhodes, Tahar, and CO. From City Staff, we have City Manager Campbell, Clerk Royal, Treasurer Bennett, and Deputy Treasurer McDonough. The rest of you who are in the audience this evening, if you'd be so kind to sign in the back, we would appreciate that. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted unless there are amendments.
So moved.
Second.
As submitted, Ms. Dillon. Thank you. Seconded by Councilman Gearbaugh. Hearing no objections, all those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. We are here to essentially finish and complete the 2016-2017 budget. I apologize for missing the last two meetings on this subject, but I understand you had a robust and substantive discussion, and I want to again thank the city manager and the Treasurer's Department for all their work on this. Ladies or gentlemen, do you want to begin, or should we just open it up for questions or comments? Please.
So as you may recall, my request at the end of the last work session was for you all to come prepared to discuss any differences or thoughts that are different than what are being proposed by the current budget. That's a big thing to help us go forward. And then we wanted to follow up on, I think, a couple of the questions as well as on the capital improvement that we talked about. And then we also, per direction from council, we redid the utility rate study and then spread that across. So we might as well, I guess, unless there's anybody else has any other ideas, we could just, Mayor, you could just go around and we could, each council member could, if there's any changes or questions on the general fund.
There's no objection to that. Actually, I'll begin, and I may have mentioned this at our first budget work meeting some time ago. And Ms. Dillon, as one of the council reps to the Substance Abuse Coalition, can comment on this as well. But as most of you know, we are in the process of creating a part-time substance abuse coordinating position for the community, which I think would be beneficial in innumerable ways. Of course, the challenge has been developing a job description, which I think we've made some significant we've got something really good, really solid in place. Now it's coming up with a long-term, reliable funding stream to help subsidize the cost of that position. Craig Heft chairs a subcommittee that deals with funding and works with grants, is pursuing a variety of options. I can't go into a lot of detail at this point, but St. Joe Mercy Health System has made a large commitment and a commitment that would last for more than 5 years. I've also talked to Superintendent Scott Graydon about the schools chipping in something. I think for this position to be viable and the efforts to be successful, I think the funding stream needs to be diverse. So what I'm asking for is some sort of line item or placeholder put in the budget, a nominal amount that would be the city's contribution to this position, and I'm thinking probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3,000. Again, a pretty low dollar amount. But that's something that I would suggest. Again, I think the position would be subsidized in part through the city, schools, St. Joe Mercy Health System, some of our local nonprofits, and then a grant. I want to be clear to the position. We will not be posting the position as a full-time job. It will not come with benefits. It's, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 16 to 20 hours a week. And again, that model is based on research that we've done from Monroe County, Tecumseh, Dexter, and elsewhere. I don't know if you care to comment on that, Ms. Dillon.
On the high points.
Okay. All right. Very
It's
good.
on my list of things, though.
That would be my request, yes. Okay. Ms. Tahar?
Yeah, question. So if this is covering, if the schools would be involved, then presumably it's a larger geographical area we're talking about than just the city limits.
Correct.
Has there been any discussion with any of the townships that also are included in the school district about participating? That would seem like a logical thing
Yep,
to
I
do.
don't know the answer to that. I can confer with Chief Heff, who's kind of spearheading the fundraising efforts, but that can certainly be asked, and that question should be asked. especially to maybe one of our larger townships to the east. Yeah.
So structurally, who does this person report to? Who's responsible for the problems that are associated with it? Is it a city employee? Are we liable for all this?
Well, I think that's an excellent question, Councilmember Gearbaugh. I think we as a group, the coalition needs to decide whether it becomes technically a city employee or whether we funnel the money through another entity like CQC, which is another option that we're exploring. The person would be evaluated annually and hired by the Substance Abuse Coalition. And I want to be clear, we're calling ourselves a coalition now, although that council will need to take action to officially change the group from a task force to a coalition. As you recall, several years ago, at my urging, we established a task force. We think it should be more of a coalition. A coalition implies a more diverse group of constituencies and organizations being represented at the table. So the short answer is we don't know yet if it's going to be a position through the city or another organization, but the person would be evaluated annually and work with the coalition.
From my perspective, I don't have a problem if we were to contribute $3,000. I just don't want to see us stuck with the administrative functions and aspects of it because we don't have time to do it. Concerns of it being that I think a lot of this aspect is coming out of the county too, so I don't want to see us doing so much double duty. But at this point, $3,000 isn't a huge issue. We're trying to contribute to something.
Well, and I would add that the impetus for advocating the creation of this position came about from my own observations of the task force, which is our police chief, the co-chair, Dr. Smith and Nagpal, and all of us who are involved have a variety of other responsibilities and duties that go well beyond the task force. And so we need to pay somebody, provide them with the resources and tools to be successful, create for them a thorough and specific job description, and let them be the face of this effort in the community. I think it's vitally important. I think the group is excited about it. Again, there's some issues that need to be worked out, and all the funding needs to be achieved. But I think this has the potential to really benefit the community, and again, not just the city of Saline, but as Ms. DeHaar said, really it mirrors the entire school district.
And that coalition will have to be responsible for everything that they do themselves, including the financial and insurance, whatever they need, because if CQC were to agree to sponsor, CQC has no resources.
Right. Right.
Other than a 501c3.
Right.
That's the resource that we have.
Any other questions or comments on that? Is everyone comfortable with that 3,000 placeholder in the budget? Yeah? Okay. What other questions, comments do individuals have regarding the 2016-2017 budget? Let's just start. I'm always starting with you, Mr. Gearbaugh, so I'll let you go last.
So can I just clarify?
Absolutely.
The 3,000 will be additional line item that wasn't included in any of the numbers that have been presented?
Correct. Correct.
Just so that we're clear.
Yep.
Yep. And you would like that in the culture and arts line by the task force?
No.
Yeah, it's on my
Oh, culture and arts is a grouping of city council and all and the different task force, not culture
Commissions.
and arts, meaning,
Not the arts and
not the arts and culture committee, sorry. It's a group of, I'm like, why are you on? It is a group, it's got the city council in it, it's got your task force and all that. It's that grouping of a separate line item, specifically donation for.
I agree with your expansion statement.
contributing towards
Substance Abuse Initiative.
I think we'd also at one point discuss possibly running it through schools.
Okay. I did not attend the last meeting, so if that was discussed
That was
at...
one of the topics that was
Okay.
discussed, was possibly running it through the schools.
Okay.
and I think there doesn't need to be a structured oversight of this person and the committee is not the one to do it.
Anything else on that? No? Okay. Ms. McClellan, can I start with you? Any questions? And make sure you speak into the microphone. Any questions about we're starting with the 2016-2017 budget.
Okay. No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Ms. Tahar?
Yes, so following up on the presentation we had about redesigning the dispatch center, is the funding for that already included in this draft? Okay, thank you. That was it?
Thank you, Ms. Tahar. Ms. Dillon?
I'm going to piggyback on the dispatch redesign and the amount budgeted. The presentation they gave us was about 3 years old, I believe, and I would like to make sure that before anything is done, that's updated, and there was a lot of talk of whether or not that was even the right setup for them. And so I just want to make sure that that is looked into before this money is spent. That's a huge investment. And even as far as the window is concerned, there seemed to have been some issues of one person wanted it this way and it was designed a different way. So I just want to make sure that the 88,000 is realistic.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious, and I could have missed those. I don't recall those statements in the presentation, but I'm just curious, be more clear on
On which part of it? I'm sorry.
well,
On
yeah.
the
on the concerns and
The concern was that I believe that this design was done 3 years ago. I believe that's what Mr. Basso had said. The first one.
He has contacted 2 different vendors recently putting these numbers in the budget.
Right.
Okay,
So those are up-to-date cost.
okay. I just want to make sure they were realistic.
To tag on that, I would just say that we have pretty much all new employees, and the ones that need this were our former employees, pretty much. So it might be good to have our new employees input. Because it was like Gene Bondi and.
right, right.
So that would, I would see that as part of the thing, just make sure that they have their feeling of contribution.
But as far as the cost estimates are very up to date, very current.
And from a design standpoint, they're pretty spot on, I mean, just from my experience with interior design stuff. Pretty standard. There's a wide range of furniture that you can go, I mean, you can get stuff at Lowe's and you can get stuff at Steelcase, you know, it's a matter of what kind of quality you want and, you know, what kind of finishes and stuff you want on them, so. But they're pretty much in the ballpark, I think.
Yeah, I believe the number, the high number was or the number used was the high dollar with the high finish, the higher quality finishes and that type of thing.
Anything else, Ms. Dillon?
No, not as far as that. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Seal?
Next thing we're going to look at is the capital improvement plan. Is the capital improvement plan for this budget year baked into this budget? As it's
Yes.
presented? Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's my only question.
Thank you, Mr. Seal. Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes?
Yeah, and I have to apologize because I forgot to check on this item. It just occurred to me. But I wonder if the city's support of Saline Leadership Institute is in this budget as it has been the last couple of years.
I know I didn't take it out, so.
I'm not sure where it was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what
Same as last year, same as last year, same as last year.
Yeah.
I believe that it is still in there. It was in the administration, we didn't take
Well,
it.
yeah, I'd just like to verify that, I guess.
Yep.
Thank you.
yeah, we'll have to do that. Yep.
And my apologies for that last minute comment. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Good, Mayor Pro Tem? Okay. Mr. Gearbaugh?
Just a couple of questions. I was looking at the adjustments in the budget. This is part of our agenda for the regular meeting tonight. We're going to bring it forward into 2017. Just a couple items. When I looked at the water fund revenue, and just historical attributes of it, we went from like 2014 to 1715 to 22,848 this year, $500,000 increase in water fund. I'm just curious as
The
to
entire fund or certain line items?
sale of water
Okay. No, it's-
and what we're projecting is in the future, because it seems weird that we've been going down and all of a sudden now we have this huge use of water projected for this year.
And the water funds of the sale of water.
Yeah, and I'm just curious how much coming up for 17.
Which page are you on?
This is out of our agenda from the next meeting.
Oh.
It's our FY16 adjustment. I haven't just looked at what we're doing actuals. And I was curious when we go to do 17, because I didn't look at that specifically, considering that we're talking about water rates and everything, just kind of ties into it. So I was looking at sale of water in general. And in 14, we had 2,053,000. 17 and 15, we had 1,757,000, which is a drop of almost 300,000. And then we came up to this year's budget of 2248, or 2,248,000. And when I look at actual year-to-date and try to prorate it out for the full year, it only comes to about 1.8 million. So,
The year-to-date numbers are skewed because we have to accrue for June, so we reverse that in July, so we're kind of short a month.
okay.
And then we'll pick up the month again in June, when we accrue. So you really can't factor that in. And again, the rates are actually based on, the expenditures that we predicted in FY16. And in FY16, we started having water main projects, the Harris Road, we built in there, so our rates kind of went up. So our
So it's
project
really,
costs went up.
so it's major rate increase basically. It's a rate increase from last year.
Yes.
It's trying to 16, but.
Mhm.
As opposed to usage. Yeah, which is
Yeah,
kind
not
of,
just usage, yeah. it's
which is
just
what I was trying to
projects.
figure out based on, because tonight we're going to approve another significant increase, trying to understand.
Right.
Our budget for water. The only other one is, I was looking at local street supplies, which went up significantly, and I suspect that's the cost associated with projects that we're now doing as part of our
Mhm. To fix it, the quick fixes.
quick fixes and so forth, so that carries forward. And then the other piece I saw was that we increased overtime for this year. Are we, for police overtime? Are we tracking that going forward?
It is lower than FY17, yes.
It's not that we should be fully staffed, I was making sure that that's true.
If I may, Mayor. Yeah, Chief Renick and I have had many discussions on that topic. And the big thing that drove it was when we weren't fully staffed in the dispatch center, and we had a lot of police officers working overtime, and that adds up very quickly.
And then the last thing, of course, I saw the headline in the Post that said, $250,000 deficit. I'm like, wait a minute. Can you explain, or can you maybe estimate, what are our one-time hits associated with what I would say our use of our savings for the road? Is it like $300,000? So we actually have an operating, I'm looking at operating versus using our fund balance.
Okay, so on the back of the packet that we handed out with the budget, back one of our very first meetings,
On the next page, it's got the projects.
Joanne did a very good job of presenting projects and what the one-time costs are. Page 28 of 28 looks like, hold that up. What is the footnotes?
Yes, the footnotes. So the city, the impact of the streetscape, the city's cost is going to be 156,000. Yeah, we have 150,000 of the coming from DPW, the 88,000 for dispatch, the police vehicle 35. So, and Salt Springs Park, we've got, that 55,000 for the parking lot. Path, we're hoping we can get some grant money to help offset that. Yeah, so there's, they all add up.
Well, and I was looking more
Yeah.
towards like the streetscape, because we know that's a one-time cost that we've been saving for $100,000 every year. And so I was trying to figure out whether that hits 16 or all in 17.
Where the 100,000 is going to save in TIFA, which is coming over. So actually, after that 500,000 from TIFA, we still have to spend 156,000 out of the general fund.
And that's why I didn't want to mislead when they says what you were deficit spending. We're not, we're basically operating, but we're spending our savings that we set aside for these specific issues.
Correct.
Right, thank you.
Anything else, my friends? Staff have any other comments about the 2016-2017 budget? We're all good on that then? All right, let's transition then to questions, comments, or concerns regarding the capital improvement budget. And let me begin, if you'll indulge me, and again, I apologize for missing the last meeting, although I did have a rather lengthy conversation with Treasurer Bennett before your work session last Monday. And of course, there's something on the agenda tonight regarding a proposed county road millage. Is everyone clear on what's being proposed and the impact that that would have on the city of Saline? Okay. And and I know I mentioned this at a previous meeting. I was appointed by Chairwoman Braybeck and the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners to be a representative of cities on the work group that helped to create the current proposal. And it fluctuated at times from a full mill to a quarter mill to a half mill, 20% for non-motorized, and of course now we're at the point of, I think the language says, at an amount never to be less than 10% will be allocated to non-motorized pathways and trails. So while it's true, it's far from being a perfect solution. I think it's a really solid, a really good proposal. I'm hopeful that the county board will take the appropriate action, I believe, this Wednesday. Is that right, Todd? Do you know? Yeah, I think it's this Wednesday is the final vote. They've already voted on it in their Ways and Means Committee. Of course, we'll be passing a resolution, hopefully be passing a resolution this evening, but I would encourage each of you between now and then to also send emails to, or pick up the phone or send a text to any members of the Board of Commissioners that you know. This will not only benefit Saline, but ultimately the county. And I will tell you that while this is just half a mill and it's what's being requested is for a 4-year period, our work group will continue to meet, continue to look at this and potentially offer something new and something different when this proposal expires in 4 years. So again, it was an honor to be part of that group. It included county staff, members of the County Board of Commissioners, representatives from the township, a representative from the city of Ann Arbor. Bipartisan, it was chaired by Commissioner Dan Smith. Again, I think it's a solid proposal, not perfect, but it will be beneficial to us if it passes. And ultimately, not only will it be beneficial to us, it will also give us some certainty and help us plan for the future, which I think is really critical. So, didn't mean to go out on a diatribe.
It is May 4th, according to Roy Townsend's email.
So, this Wednesday, right? Questions about the capital improvement plan? Well, let's start. If you don't have anything, just pass. It's not a big deal. Mr. Beerbaugh, do you have anything?
Not really.
No?
The only question I had was the GIS mapping for $13,000, but that's coming out of the cemetery. It's just a map, but all grades, I think.
And we've talked, as Ms. Tahar can echo these statements, we've talked about that on numerous occasions at the cemetery task force. I suspect we will again. The clerk's department really believes that would be a really vital resource to help them do their job. Please.
And also a public service for people looking for information.
Absolutely.
On various kinds related to the cemetery.
Mr. Rhodes, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Sears? No. Ms. Dillon?
No questions.
Ms. Tahar? Make sure you're talking to the mic there. if you
Oh,
would, please.
sorry, yes. Well, a general question. When we were talking about capital improvement, particularly about roads, but other things as well, we talked about, this is about the roads. We could neither of these options has any money right now, but there's the pay-as-you-go possibility and the 20-year bonding possibility. And we sort of, so that was sort of it. There's no money, and these are 2 ways we could do it, and this is how much money we would need. So I'm feeling like we're sort of hanging here. And depending on how the county millage vote would go, that would help give us some context. But is there any middle ground or other option between pay-as-you-go and very long-term bonds where we're paying for roads that are now needing more repair again before we've even paid for them. Yeah, bake sale, I know.
Well, for like your subdivisions, for instance, there are a special assessment, again, because you have to, again, show value. And so a major, like Michigan, like, well, we'll say Maple would be a bad, right? Because that's a major thoroughfare, a major street, arterial. So it's difficult to special assess those properties that front on that because there's a lot more traffic that utilize those. But communities have been successful in the special assessment, especially for the subdivision type streets, where they're going to get, you can certainly justify the value to those property owners.
If I may, too, Mr. Hart, because this was a point that was discussed, not ad nauseum, but at length in this county work group on transportation funding. And I will be emphatic, and I'll use the word resent. I resent the fact that the state of Michigan does not give us a plethora of options, a number of tools to generate funding to meet our infrastructure needs. The unfortunate fact is that's just the reality. And so, again, we talked about that at length. We wish we could do more. We wish we had different options and could be creative, but we don't. And we exist oftentimes, the state is superior to counties and to cities, and we don't have the tools to be really creative. So we're forced to deal with what we have, and that's difficult, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Not what I was hoping to hear, but thank you.
Ms. McClellan, anything on capital improvements?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. We all good on that then? All right, then let's transition to our final discussion item of the evening, which is water and sewer rates. Does staff want to make any comment before we open it up for questions or concerns?
I think Joanne has a hand.
Oh, please. Do you want to go over it then, Joanne?
Yeah, I'll go over it real
Okay,
fast.
yep.
The first sheet that's coming out is the first draft. It's just a single page, yeah, it's just one. And it just kind of a snapshot of what was presented the last time and the impact. The third group down with the asterisks is the impact of $37 a quarter for an average residential customer. This packet here is the smoothing effect that we would have. Taking the big projects, the big dollar projects, and kind of spreading them over up to 5 years without really hurting our cash flow in any of the one funds. The first sheet is of the new proposal with the smoothing. The impact above the bottom section of it is the impact on a regular residential customer. $17.08 a quarter is what the smoothing comes out to be. The second sheet in that attachment is a history going back to 2010, June 1st, 2010, and the rate increases each year. And the bottom section of that shows that impact on that same average customer, what it was each year. A little history, in 2010 is the last time we set the rates for the 4 years. So we kind of locked them in and didn't make a change until to June 1st, 2014, which was FY15. In 2009, we bonded, and we got $1 million for capital improvements. So there wasn't, we had a couple projects that were coming in, Tower and that area up there, they did the roads and they tied in a water main project. We bonded and got pre-funded one bond and then took another extra $1 million out for capital improvements. So in essence, we didn't take a hit, we smoothed it out because of the debt service that we incurred instead of paying as we went. But that's actually the impact of those 4 years, June 1st, 2010 to June 1st, 2013, is the impact of having an extra $1 million to pay on some projects and then just smoothing it out with debt service.
And then 14 and 15 are the 2 years where we're doing them on an annual basis. And we're tying them to projects, specific projects, and paying for them in that year. So this year is really the first year we're kind of smoothing out project costs.
That we haven't bonded for.
We have bond for, right?
Bonded ones, we've smoothed out, we're incurring the
Debt service
debt
instead
service.
of the one hit to pay for the project, so.
Gotcha.
But
Anything
that's
else,
just a little
ladies?
history of what it's, because I know Linda was asking for a little history.
Can I open up for questions, ladies? Okay, I'll start with Ms. McClellan, work our way around the table.
So we're proposing going from an 18% increase to an 8% increase, is that right?
Yeah, 8.3, okay, on average.
What is the, did you have a history for industrial?
I did take, AMSOI and Forcia are our biggest industrial users, and they don't really have a one-to-one relationship because they get sewer credits. But based on this new proposal, American Soy would be about $3,000 would be their increase, and Forcia about $1,200.
A quarter, right?
No, they came up.
Oh,
So $3,000
Yeah, but it was, I think, what was it, originally like 7,000 or 8,000 in that first proposal.
anything else, Ms. McClellan?
That's it for me.
No. Ms. Tahar?
And this is, so the 8.3% proposed now smooths it out over how many years? I forgot.
Up to 5 years.
Oh.
We took the sewer project for US 12 out 5 years. And then water has the North Ann Arbor Street project coming up, starting in 17 and then finishing in 20. I smoothed that out about 4 years. I don't want to really impact the cash flow too dramatic in any 1 year, so I kind of like have like a year to kind of get it as even as possible instead of killing. So,
Thank you, that's it.
Ms. Dillon?
I'm still just trying to process through the numbers, so
Yeah.
please give me a second. Actually, I'll just pass for right now while I try to
Very good.
figure it out.
We'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Councilman Seal?
So that I understand, you tried to smooth it so that we had 8 point something for the next 5 years according to your current
Right.
projections. But of course, you've already indicated that there's all kinds of things that impact these rates
Right, exactly.
that are unpredictable. But that's your best guess for the next 5 years?
Right, based on the department head's projections for capital improvements and projects that they've got coming down.
So we'd look at roughly an 8% increase
Yeah,
every
it's a
year.
little, let's see. Next year it's a little higher at 8.8, then it goes down to like 7.4. The third page. The third page is the combined rates and what they would be out through FY 2020. I think 2020 is not a good indication because I don't think they've really looked enough projects out there.
Table 2 on page 3 or something.
Which column is page 3?
For
What
an
are the
average.
difference here? It says-
One with the asterisk next to
So
it.
the
The one with the
asterisk
asterisk is an average,
Okay.
average of industrial program. That seems to be the focus. How much it's gonna cost an average resident. That's with usage of 18 units. Well, conservative.
I see a drop there in 2019.
Right, it's like, right, well, that's, what I said, that's probably, they don't have,
Everything,
or any big dollar items,
Right.
probably get their wish list together, try to get it in, sooner than later, but the big hitters happen to be in, 17 through 19.
Anything else, Mr. Seal? Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes?
Yeah, your previous comments helped me to understand the sentence in here on the cover sheet. Total cost of these projects are being spread over 2 to 5 years. And I was wondering how one was able to do that in established rates, but it's actually just, some of the projects are 2 years and some are 5 and some are something
Now,
in
projects
between.
are basically a year. that we
You know,
usually
you're-
pay them
you're
out.
smoothing
Right,
them.
but I just went and isolated each
one.
specific
Put in.
project and smoothed them out, then looked at how the cash flow fell into the budget, and then if it was a little too ugly, I
And spread it out a little more. It's good that you have the flexibility to do that, that our fund is big enough. My only other comment, and there really isn't anything we can do about it, but the higher our water rates go, the more incentive businesses have to change procedures or put in equipment to reduce their quantities. And, you know, we might be hurting ourselves at the end, but I don't know how else you do it. Got to cover the costs.
Mr. Shea?
One thing occurred to me, you were going to contact the city's auditors to see if there was a recommended way of managing that.
Yes, we contacted our auditors, and Plant Moran said they've seen it a number of different ways. The way that we've done it in the past, where you take it, you know, if there's debt service, but basically it's what your cash flow allows, and then what some municipalities will do is say, you know, we don't ever want to see, you know, it's similar to a fund balance policy, except it's a water and sewer rate policy where they say, you know, we don't ever want to see it go over this. So then you cut your, you know, that part of that becomes then part of your planning document too, is like, well, you can't have all these projects, even though we can afford, you know, you can't put them all on the residents, so, you know, you move them out accordingly. So he was, Martin was the one who suggested 5 years, if your cash flow allows it. So, you know, cash flow is something you really gotta keep your eye on, and that's why she tweaked each project to maximize the cash flow.
If we do it this year, we'll see how it falls out next year and see, you know, if it really, you know, I guess right, they're calculated right, but yes.
I guess it's a science you've done, Joe.
So many numbers. But yeah, if we can get 1 year under our belt, just see what the impact is, you know. We have to pay the project out, you know, but we're restricting our cash in just to see, you know, how it actually falls out. You know, because it's the budget, it's just like everything else, and they've got the department budgets, and so they might be over, you know, compensating a couple lines where, you know, it's not gonna happen, so we'll have some money there, but we'll just see how it works out.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just to add to that, is that, you may recall, I mentioned this at the last meeting, we talked about this, is that it's fairly typical to do a 5-year utility rate study, and you set those, you know, for 5 years, and maybe on the 4th year you start taking another look at it. But because now that we do have the ability to do it on an annual basis, which I think is good, but you're going to see a little more fluctuation, and because it's also tied in with a 5-year capital improvement plan, right? And you know, to Joanne's point about it's a budget. You know, budget is a living, breathing document, and it can change depending on the needs and requirements, whether it's, you know, cash flow or just resources or infrastructure projects, for instance, that need to happen. You know, from time to time those things do. And we try and be proactive as best we can, but sometimes things happen where it's unexpected, and you have to add something. And that's looking out 5 years, right? I mean, it's difficult, you know, to look out 2 years, let alone 5 years. So, and of course, we don't know what's going to happen in the next, you know, minute and a half, let alone. So, but the best of our ability, and those are just things. And the point to my comments is that now that we have the ability to look at it a year at a time, I think it's going to be, to me, it's going to be interesting to see how that, I guess, lack for better, ebbs and flows, to try and keep as steady as we can. And we talked about not wanting to, we wanted to stay away from the big spikes, right, going up and down. We want to try and keep it even best we can for folks, so we can all plan appropriately and that type of thing. So, as well as obviously not just for residents, but for our businesses too, which is critical.
Thank you, Mr. Gearbob.
Since you'd mentioned the fund balance, what is our percentage that we're kind of
Offhand, I don't know what the percent, it's not like a fund balance, it's actually just their cash flow. It's not, it's operating capital, it's tied into receivables, it's tied into their cash, so it could change all the time depending on, what the billing was at the end of the year, and how much is in there, so.
No, I was just thinking we set aside funds in terms of just what we have in place, which helps that cash flow so it doesn't go into the.
Well, I don't have going into the negative, so. Close, but not into the negative.
Yeah, and I think this is great, because I think this does distribute it out. Unfortunately, what would have happened had we known, we were going to spend almost $800,000 for water and sewer and bond this? What would we have spread it over the same period of time? Or would
It would have been debt service, 15 years, 20 years, whatever the bond
So it
was.
would have been less. Okay. My only concern with that is that issue that, I don't know if we potentially could do that in the future to adjust this if it becomes an issue or whatever, is to actually bond this and bring it forward, because this is something we probably should have done at this price, when we didn't know it was going to be a few
Sure.
times.
Sure. Well, if you think about it too, so, and this is all related to wastewater treatment plant and our sanitary sewer system. So 2 years ago, we did the phase 1, right? And we paid for that with cash on hand. And now, of course, we're in the middle of phase 2, and that's a little north of $3.6 million. So that's a big number. So we're trying to balance that so to have responsible level of debt, and then pay for as you go, if you will, when we can.
My only concern with this one, again, and Mr. Rhodes has mentioned it too, is that the way I look when this bid came through and now understand it, they knew in the bid where they could actually hold us hostage. And that's where we ended up getting screwed on this. So I wish that we would have been able to subcontract that section out so that we wouldn't have had to pay for something like that, but it is what it is. But unfortunately, I do understand and I've seen comments to that effect, and I agree, this is something that unfortunately was held out of our hands, and it questions what kind of bidding process is actually handled at the state.
Anything else? Water and sewer? Yes, Mickey Jo, please.
Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Joanne, but as you may recall on the agenda later this evening, you have the water and sewer rate resolution, and the resolution is prepared, does reflect this smoothed out, these amounts, so if there's any changes or your consent, you think you want to do it somehow different, we're going to go back and type up a new resolution before you act on it.
I'm assuming most of the
And by
group
we, I
is
mean Joanne.
comfortable with, comfortable with the resolution that they prepared. Okay. Yes,
I
please.
just have a quick question going back. Has there been any movement or discussion or determination on the roof at the rec center yet?
Not yet. We do have another specialist that I know that that we were providing information to, so waiting for a response back.
Temporary fixes, all right?
So far, yes, so far.
And that's likely to be an insurance covered anyway, you think?
I'm not sure.
You hope?
It wasn't last time because of so we have to. That's what we're trying to determine is what caused it, and then we can. So, right.
Anything else regarding city finances, upcoming budget, capital improvement plan, or water and sewer rates? Well, thank you all for your attention and your focus on these and other important issues. Staff, we appreciate all that you've done to prepare the budget, and to keep us informed and to address any questions and concerns that we have. We appreciate it very much. We come to public comments now. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested, but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Are there any citizen comments? There are no citizen comments, and the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn this work meeting at 7:15 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Gearboss, seconded by Councilwoman McClellan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, this meeting is adjourned. Please help us break down these tables.